Pull up a chair in the Toadstool Boardroom. My name's Logan Plant, and it is episode 0 of this brand new Nintendo podcast. Allow me to introduce you to my fellow chairman of the board. Do we like that? Is that going to work for us? We got Odell Harmon Jr. Hi, Odell.
Hey, everybody. How y'all doing?
And Chris Shriver. Hi, Chris.
Hello there.
We are very excited to bring you this brand new weekly Nintendo show. And on this episode 0, we're going to introduce ourselves to you, lay out what the show is going to be all about, and get into a little bit of our favorite Nintendo games. If you want to just test out a normal episode, episode 1 is coming out on Thursday, June 2nd, so look forward to that. But this is to get to know the panel before we get into the Nintendo news that you care about each and every week. So, Odell, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
What's up, everybody? My name is Odell Harmon Jr., lifelong Nintendo fan, clearly, like any good gamer. And I've started my gaming journey way back when I was 4, but realistically, professionally in college. I went to Texas A&M University. I wrote for the paper there, where I worked my way up to lifestyles editor, which I used my power for evil to create our first ever gaming blog and gaming section of the paper. My highlight of that job, this is actually a little known fact that you're getting right here from the boardroom, is that while I worked there, I received a review copy from Nintendo for Skyward Sword to review for the paper. The first and last time Nintendo has ever mailed me a review copy. It was astounding. I sadly did not know that this is where I was going to peak in terms of, sent from Nintendo packages, but it was wonderful. And I used my time there to leverage an internship at Game Informer magazine. Well, I wrote 2 of the best Nintendo articles the website has ever seen. One with over 1 million hits for, yes, an article that you read, and the other with over 100,000. That would have been the top 50 Pokemon of all time at the time. Undisputable. My list was concrete.
What was number
1? Mew.
All right.
And this is where the boardroom falls apart, people. On episode 0, we are already done. It was nice to know you. But yes, Mew was the number 1. My reasoning was it was and still is one of the greatest Pokemon mysteries of all time. And technically, Mew could be any Pokemon. So, there you go.
So Ditto should be number 1 then.
No, because Ditto is like Mew's clone in, inside head canon of the world. So Mew, by definition, is lesser Mew.
Oh, I did not know that.
I did not know that.
There school us on Pokemon knowledge.
It's not even.
Yeah, all right. So in case you didn't know, the only place you can encounter Ditto in the original game is in the secret laboratory on Cinnabar Island. That's where they experimented and created Mewtwo from, the DNA of Mew. And so people theorize that's the only place you can find Ditto there, because Dittos are all the failed attempts to clone Mew, which is why, like Mew, it's the only other Pokemon that can transform into all the other Pokemon.
This is blowing my mind right now. I feel like there's going to be so many moments like this where Odell, and because this happened a while back on the Platformers Metroid Spoiler Cast, he was dropping knowledge for the Metroid franchise that I have never heard anyone speak of.
That's good.
So impressive.
Anything else you want to share, Odell?
Yeah. Oh, while they gave me for me, I also wrote another article called Fusing Metroids, Crafting the Best Metroid Game, which if you go back and read that article, one thing I said was, Other M, terrible story, but decent game. And I said the next Metroid game should involve 2.5D boss battles where it switches between 2D and 3D elements during the boss battles. Am I saying is that why we got that Metroid Dread? I don't know. I'm not saying it not either. But
I did quick time events, if that counts for you.
I mean, they're quick time, but
they're quick time, but they're hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it still happens.
Yeah.
I mean, just because it's cinematic doesn't mean it's not good. But, I went on to do other stuff. I wrote for a whole bunch of websites, some Nintendo focused, some not. I've been on Nintendo important podcasts, as aren't this one, a couple of times. But, other than that, true blue gamer, love it. I got to see Smash Brothers revealed at E3, Smash Brothers Wii U. And I got to play on the main stage, and I thought that was amazing. I came in second to a bum Mega Man, but whatever, I'll take my loss in stride.
All right, that's Odell Harmon Jr. Let's get to know Chris Shriver. Hi, Chris.
Hi, I am way less impressive than Odell Harmon Jr., but I am Chris Shriver. I've been playing Nintendo my entire life. I remember getting the N64 when I was 3, 1996. We got it for Christmas. And seeing Bowser for the first time, my head exploding. I still really haven't had many gaming moments that have come close to that up until, this point in my life. Half-Life Alyx is probably a close second. Not that that's a Nintendo thing. Anyway, I've been on the Platformers podcast for about 5 years now with the guys over there. Talk about all different sorts of video games. I've been at IGN for over 4 years now as their social media coordinator for the weekends. I run that ship Saturday and Sunday. So go like all that stuff, you should like it every day of the week, but those days of the week specifically, because then I look really good, and that's always good. Huge Mario fan. Kind of a lapsed Pokemon fan, but I'm starting to get back into it. It taught me how to read Pokemon Red on the game, playing on the Game Boy Color, my Kiwi Lime Green Game Boy Color. I'm really into hardware modding, and I have just tinkering with Nintendo handhelds, the Zelda franchise, all the big Nintendo franchises, everything like that. But I'm really just excited to have a space that is so Nintendo centric that we can just be all philosophical about, because I like the misery loves company.
Are you a miserable Nintendo fan?
No.
You got it pretty great right now.
We've been on the upswing for a while now, but boy, it was a little rough there for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, as I said at the top show, I'm Logan Plant, and Nintendo's always been my thing, man. I mean, I got my start at Nintendo Wire, formerly known as Nintendo Inquirer, a site over there writing news, being on videos. Eventually moved my way to IGN in a freelance role, and how I got in the door was through Nintendo Voice Chat, which you may have seen me on a handful of times over 2020 and 2021. And being on that show was so much fun, and that show is actually the reason I got into this industry to begin with. It was during the Wii U era, back when Jose Otero, who's now at Nintendo, was the host of Nintendo Voice Chat. I just fell in love with that show and the kind of format that they had, and the really in-depth, thought-provoking discussions that they had about Nintendo. And why did they have to do that? Because there wasn't much to talk about. We're talking about the Wii U era, where they had to scrape the literal bottom of the barrel to find topics, but they did. And it was just incredible content. And I walked away from each episode thinking about games and the company and Nintendo in a way I hadn't thought about them before. And that's my goal with this show here, is to have a discussion here that is more than just talking about the games that we like and don't like, but talking about them in a new way that maybe gets you, the listener, to think about things in a new or different way, and engages you in Nintendo in maybe a way that you weren't from just playing the games before. So we're really excited about the Toadstool Boardroom and excited to get this show underway. Let's talk about our social media real quick, just to get a plug in. We are out there. You can follow us on Twitter at ToadstoolBR. That's BR as in boardroom, at ToadstoolBR. We're also on YouTube. You can watch the video version, search for the Toadstool Boardroom, and you can listen to the audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast streaming service that you like to use. So that is us. I just want to talk about Nintendo for a little bit, give people a little tease about what we're looking at right now, because I think it's a really interesting time to cover Nintendo. Very different than talking about the Wii U era when there wasn't much going on, because there's so much going on right now. I look at the outlook for Nintendo over the next couple of years, and people are constantly talking about the Switch Pro. We could see a new Nintendo console within the next 2 to 3 years. Breath of the Wild 2 is still hanging out there. Obviously a huge game for anybody that calls themselves a Nintendo fan, and that's going to be a ton of fun to talk about in the coming months. And then outside of gaming, it's really fascinating too right now, because we're seeing expansion of their IP through theme parks and the Mario movie that just got delayed into next year, and these other projects Nintendo's tackling that is really pushing them beyond the boundaries they've really been before. So just a lot of exciting things to talk about. Chris, what do you think is interesting about the place Nintendo find themselves?
It's funny. You saying the theme parks thing is just like triggered a thought in my mind. I can't help but wonder if they're setting themselves up for having a console that is going to have all of their big historical titles on them, and continue to support that, in a future iteration of the Switch. We often talk about like what is going to happen with the library of games that are on that console, and is it going to be easier to develop for, more difficult to develop for, things like that. I think they're going to stay on the terrain that they're already on, right? They're going to keep it with this Android development platform, and with that, it's just going to be easier for them to make games to continue to support this console and any future consoles moving forward. But that being said, we're looking at a Nintendo that we've never seen before, in that it's not just all right, here's the next shiny thing that's, what's the new gimmick? How are they going to incorporate these characters into the what that gimmick is? But it is making Mario more of a Mickey Mouse. You are going to have the theme parks, you are going to have the movies. You're seeing toys in Targets and, all these other toy stores. Like, we did not have that in our childhood. And if we did, this room would be a lot more full of like classic Mario figures. It's just not. I'm very excited. Honestly, and I didn't think of it until just now, I'm very excited because it's a new chapter of Nintendo, and it's also a new chapter of our lives where, if you end up having, children or anything like that, and you were somebody that grew up with this, like, oh yeah, I'm going to take the kids to Nintendo World. But secretly in the back of your mind, you get to have that moment of like, I get to go to Nintendo World. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, hey, y'all ready to go home? Yeah. Another hour? Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll stay close.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, you know what? You've been good.
Odell, what do you think about where Nintendo's at right now?
So I'm looking at it actually quite nearsighted. I think they're in a really good spot when compared to the competition. I say Nintendo is probably going to be the winner of 2022 for me. And what I mean by that is PlayStation and Microsoft are so busy about services, the future, and where their consoles are going and what does their consoles mean and this and that. Where Nintendo is here now, if you think about, like, Nintendo's been releasing software consistently throughout this year. Like, and a lot of people talk about what games are coming out for the rest of the year. And I'm like, they're basically on Nintendo. We got Splatoon 3, we got Bayonetta 3, we got Mario's Rabbids, we got Mario Strikers. Even the games that, maybe aren't the greatest, we had Mario Golf. People are talking about that. Then it's Switch Sports. They're the only company releasing consistent software so far and continuing throughout this year. And of course, I know that could change with the summer showcases coming up. But I think about Nintendo could also bring new games. Oh, Pokemon Scarlet. I forgot my most anticipated game of the year. And even in the indie space, we got like Live Alive coming. But in my mind, that's a Switch exclusive. And you got Klonoa, which isn't a Switch exclusive, but it's still, because that's where they showcased it on Nintendo's consoles. And I'm the type of person, if something is showcased revealed for a console, that's in my mind, that's where it's belong. That's where I'm supposed to experience it at. And so in my mind, Nintendo's winning because even if it's not the biggest story, they're doing what game companies should do: release games. And like, it's the only company, if you think about, I know what's coming out a month from now, 2 months from now, this year. And we, like you said, we have Breath of the Wild 2. We still have huge titles on the horizon that we're not going to get until next year, God forbid, the year after that. But we still have stuff coming out now. And I feel like my Switch just keeps giving to me because, like, I have games, new and old. I don't have to be like, well, I got to hold tight for 8 months, a year. Like, no, the games are here and they come out at a regular clip. And like I said, they may not all be, 10 out of 10s, but it's consistent content. Like, hell, Kirby just came out. That was a stellar game. I know we're not talking about it anymore. That was an amazing Kirby game. It's kind of in the Metroid Dread situation. Like, is this the best Kirby game to date? And, and with franchise that are 20, 30, 35 years old, to be able to release a game in today and people go, is this the best one yet? you know, secretly we all know Nintendo is never in a bad spot. But when I reflect on 2022 specifically, they're doing great.
Yeah, I think that it's a fun time right now because kind of what I talked about, my inspirations for getting into this industry, right? That was coverage of Nintendo at it. And right now, Nintendo is flying higher than maybe ever before, certainly in a very, very long time. I think that many of their franchises are the best they've ever been on the Switch. You just mentioned Kirby and Metroid, and then obviously you have things like Mario Kart and Zelda and Super Mario Odyssey that are arguably the best entries that these series have ever seen. And then you just look at the sales numbers. You've got over 100 million Switches sold, and it's still going. It's not like the Wii where it was hot as heck for a few years and then curtailed off. The Switch is still selling. It's still the hot item. It's still popular. And so I think looking ahead a few years down the road, there was that quote in the news just a couple weeks ago, right? How is Nintendo going to transition from the Switch to whatever is next and bring as much of their audience as they can with them? I think that is something that's going to be really interesting to follow. Their classic game offering, I think to me and a lot of other fans, is still severely lagging behind what maybe it should look like in 2022. So these are things we're going to be getting into on the Toadstool Boardroom, and I'm really excited to have you guys here with me. We have never met in person. Well, I don't know if you two have met. I have never met either of you in person. We all got together on a Metroid Dread spoiler cast on Chris's other show, The Platformers, and just that's kind of where the idea sparked in my head. I'm like, I want to do my own Nintendo show. I already do another gaming show, but do something just Nintendo. Brought you guys into the fold, and I think we've got one of the next great Triforces of Nintendo podcasting. So, yeah. And credit to Chris for coming up with the name Toadstool Boardroom.
I don't even know
he submitted that one
where that came from, but I'm proud of it.
I'm not gonna admit I wasn't the biggest fan, but it all came together. Like we got once the logo and stuff, it was like it worked. It all worked.
It all came together.
Yeah. So let's move on here and get into our personal top 5 Nintendo games of all time. Let's just establish who are we as Nintendo fans? What do we like? Why do we follow this crazy, wacky toy maker out of Japan as closely as we do? Chris, we'll start with you. 5-1, your top 5 Nintendo games of all time.
Number 5 is Mario Kart 8. Are we doing like 5-1 just straight through?
Give me a couple second description of it.
All right. Mario Kart 8. Obviously, I've always loved Mario Kart, but 8 specifically, it is probably one of the. There aren't many games that I can say like I've played consistently for like several years throughout my life. Mario Kart 8 came out almost 10 years ago, or no? What is
2014,
it?
May 20th,
2014. Yeah. Okay, Ooh. 8 years ago. They've gotten content and now they're finally releasing new content, thank God, but
newish,
right? And the quality of it is questionable, but I'm not going to get into that. It is just the perfect refinement of everything that franchise has managed to like build upon itself over the years. That's probably not the right way to say that, but to a point where every time I play it, I'm like, I don't know how you make this better. It is so finely tuned and beautiful, and the roster is missing a few people or a few characters, but it's just it's a grand old time being in Mario Kart 8.
Justice for Birdo and Diddy Kong.
And Diddy Kong, yeah, that's the big one for me. I can't believe he's not there.
Birdo scares you?
Yes.
Birdo's in the game on one of the billboards. It says like women in racing, and it has Birdo and Peach.
Yeah.
And then Birdo's just not in the game.
Makes no sense.
It's a travesty.
Yeah.
And
like
with you, though.
For years.
It was an honorable mention for me. I didn't make it in, but it's definitely the best Mario Kart.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. My old job pre-pandemic, we would play every day at lunch. There was like a group of like 6 of us, and we'd take over a conference room, and for 40 minutes we'd just scream at each other while we threw banana peels and whatever. I have a really soft spot for that game. Super Mario 3D World. which I feel like is you either not love it or hate it, but like I just have a really strong affinity to that game. It's one of me and my wife's favorite games to play with one another. I think
3D World plus Bowser's Fury, or just base 3D World?
Oh, I mean, plus Bowser's Fury, but I mean, I am strictly talking about the multiplayer aspect of 3D World. Her and I in every single level just like go at it, trying to beat each other's high score while also trying to help each other. But I'm also going to steal the crown from her. She's going to try and steal it from me. And we'll just like yell at each other the whole time we're playing it. And it's just a really, really great time. I think the level design in that game is brilliant. I love how it's just like bite-sized moments, and they never really get stale. I feel like that game has a lot of enough variety in it to keep you wanting more. And by the end of it, it gets really, really challenging, which I always look forward to a Mario game.
You are speaking to my heart right now. You got 2 Wii U games on the list. I know they're both on the Switch, but started life on the Wii U, which, as you'll all learn, I have an extremely soft spot for it. I adore 3D World. I think it's still underrated, even after it got second life on the Switch. It is so unbelievably good.
Yeah, that game is incredible. Number 3, Super Mario Odyssey. As many of you probably know, if you follow me on Twitter or anything like that, I'm a huge Banjo-Kazooie fan. This is the closest thing that I've ever gotten to Banjo 3E, and it probably will be for the rest of my life, and that's fine. The way I always describe this game is it is as if Nintendo reached into a bag and said, we're going to manufacture fun, and they just like dumped all these parts on the table and put it together and put it in a cartridge and then said, here you go. It is just like dripping with charm. I love the worlds in it because it's not just that they're worlds that I haven't seen in every other game, but the characters and the things that happen in them are definitely different than any other Mario game. And like New Donk City and the moment with Pauline, like every time I do it, if there's like a year gap between it, I'm just like tears of joy. Like I turn into a blubbering mess. I'm like, this is so they love me so much. I just love that game so very much.
You?
Oh yeah, I was like, they did this for me. They made this game for me.
You specifically.
Me, nobody else. It's phenomenal. I have every costume in that game.
Dude, and a skeleton that costs like 10,000 coins.
And every moon. So that just shows it wasn't.
Golden Balloon Club.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not a good time, but I love that game. So it was worth it. Number 2 is Ocarina of Time 3D. I think that is just a phenomenal remake, just all around. There is a texture modder, Henrico, I think is his name, or Henrico, who, if you look on YouTube, look up like Ocarina of Time 3D 4K. He does all these upgraded 4K texture packs. You can play it on PC. And it's my favorite way to play Ocarina of Time at this point. That game looks like the instruction booklet that it shipped with. Like they really captured the art style of what they were going for. And they fixed the water temple, which like what more can you ask for? And number 1 is Breath of the Wild. There aren't many games in my life that somewhere on my Facebook, there's a picture where I have like that giant guide for that game because I was trying to like find all the temples and everything, and I got tired of trying to do it on my own. And there's a picture of me like in shorts, like all hiked up. I'm wearing a wife beater and I'm like leaned over a table, just like scouring this map, like where? And like Jess kept snapping pictures of me. But yeah, I'm not a guy that typically plays RPGs. I enjoy Zelda games, but this really just took it to a whole other level. I'm a huge fan of the original Zelda on NES, and the way that they managed to basically build that and then build a 3D world upon it with so many different secrets and upgrade paths and things like that. I can't wait for the sequel. I want to go back and play Breath of the Wild, but I know I'll get sucked back into it, and then, by the time the second one comes out, I'm not going to want to play it, so I just have to avoid it altogether, and that hurts. But
I'm in the same boat. I don't want to get burned out on the formula, because I think it'll be a lot different, but I think it'll be similar in a lot of ways.
Right.
You don't want to climb mountains for 30 hours and then be like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
I'm going to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great top 5. You and I have very similar tastes.
Oh, boy.
I'll just say that. We'll get to my list next, but let's hear from Odell. Your top 5 to 1 Nintendo games of all time.
Okay. I would say naturally Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would be on there. But since Chris took it out, I want to retread. Haha. Driving joke. But retread what he did. I will say this. I reviewed that game. The original. I never reviewed Deluxe, and I gave it a 10 out of 10. I think it's the best kart racing game. But it's the details in that game that to me that just puts it over the moon. Like the fact that when you drift, you leave skid marks in the road, and they're still there the entire race. Like you can see, like to me, it's like you can see the story of that particular race ingrained into the track by the third lap, and I think that's something special. But anyway, I'm gonna start this list off with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. In a similar way that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best of the series compilated to one, Ultimate is that. And besides just being, a celebration of gaming in general and all the things that make Smash Brothers great, from the reveal trailers to the hypeness to the community and stuff, it's the first fighting game that made me actually want to get good. Like, I'm okay-ish at Street Fighter. Like, I'm okay at Mortal Kombat. No, I think I just plain suck at Mortal Kombat, let me be honest. But like Smash was like the only game where I was like, I need to find a community. I need to get better. I need to be able to place at tournaments, not win them, but like definitely place. And I've never had a fighting game do that for me. It's just like, hey, this is something, you play with your friends, you get kind of good, and maybe play at parties. And I was like, no, like I want to go to tournaments. I want to like play people. I want to be competitive in a real way. And I think that's just tried and true to just the love that Sakurai put into that game, because as fun as it is a serious fighter, the originator of the platform fighter genre, and it's so good because the characters are so distinct. Like you could play with your favorite Nintendo character, and they're designed in such a way where you feel like this is believable. This isn't just like a skin of a Hadouken based character that now looks like Pikachu or something of that nature. And and it's just fun, and it's just, I don't know, it's something special. It's a love letter to gaming. It's a love letter to Nintendo IPs. It's a love letter to what I feel like. It's a game that I feel like showcases the difference in caring about your product. And I wish more games cared about their product in the way Sakurai cares about Smash.
Well said.
The next game on this, I didn't know we had an order, but I'm just gonna go and say Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD. It edges out Twilight Princess in my mind, because Twilight Princess hasn't gotten a legit HD remake. Like Twilight Princess HD was like, let's turn up the brightness and call it a day.
Yeah.
But you had gamepad support.
I mean, you get Game Pass support, I guess,
And you have to hunt 4 fewer bugs to get 4 fewer tiers of light in each section.
Yeah.
And that's like it.
Yeah,
That's the only change.
Yeah, just and my thing is like the on the original version you can just press down to take off your iron boots already. So it wasn't like, oh, the gamepad I could tap them. It was like, well, you can already tap everything on and off anyway. But I digress. So Wind Waker HD looks amazing. I mean, it's shell shaded, so it was easy to, but like they really went the extra mile with the motorboat sail. It's not called that, but that's why I call it, because it changes your boat into a motorboat.
Swift
I see you, Chris. And there's it's just better. But one thing I love, because most Zelda games, Link is a mute, and it's because you can put yourself into Link. And the games have stories, but I feel like Wind Waker, I wouldn't say the only Zelda game, but definitely one of the few, and does it the best, where that story is uniquely Toon Link's story. Like, I'm there for the ride and I feel, but like it takes so much care to make Toon Link not only feel like his own person, but like a kid who was thrown into like the clutches of destiny and rose to the occasion. And for a game to do that for a protagonist that doesn't utter a single word, I think is phenomenal. Like, I feel like if you dared the people at Naughty Dog to do that with one of their protagonists, but he never says a word, they couldn't do it. Like, they couldn't do it. It'd be the worst game ever. We'll be forced to notice the basic gameplay for what it was.
Whoa!
Welcome to the Toadstool Courtroom.
I love Last of Us. I'm just being real, people. I'm just being real.
My arm is burning.
If the stories weren't so great, we'll be forced to look at the face in the actual game part of the video game.
Man. Roasted.
All I will say is I think a lot of that, and I'm not trying to derail at all, I think a lot of that is Toon Link is so wonderfully expressive and so soft. And the way that they introduce that character, it's like, oh, you're on this island. You're just this little boy in your little pajamas, and there's your grandma. You got to go on the adventure. You're ready. And then, like, it's just such a huge change, because then you get into that tower and you're fighting that bird, and it's like, what has this kid gotten into? Last of Us doesn't have that. It's like the world's already destroyed, Okay,
I love Wind Waker also. I'll just throw it out there real quick. I think that it's a testament to the most ageless art style of maybe any 3D video game ever.
Yeah.
Will always be gorgeous. Twilight Princess is not the best looking game in 2022. I love Twilight Princess also, but you said this little boy on the island in his pajamas, and I grew up my whole life thinking it was his pajamas also. It is not.
What is it?
It's his normal clothes, but he's a lazy kid who fell asleep on top of this outlook and then woke up there. They're just his clothes. I just started Wind Waker HD, and the grandma, I'm doing the second quest where you get to wear those clothes all the time. And your grandma's like, oh, you're still wearing your, I don't remember what she calls them, but it's just like your day clothes. Like, they're not pajamas. And it blew my mind.
I could have
sworn
the game explicitly said pajamas at one point.
Yeah, I really thought they were. I'm still going to call them that.
Second quest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in my mind, where Wind Waker goes from great game to masterpiece story-wise, it's a small moment. It's not hugely bearing in overtones or anything, but it's the point. After you rescue your sister, you do all that jazz. The rich girl becomes poor, the poor girl becomes rich. All that stuff. That's the quintessential, I guess, turning point, halfway point of the game, one way or the other. But the King of Red Lions looks to you and goes, all right, you helped me do what I needed to do. You saved your sister. You can stop here. Like, I've lied to you. This is what up. Like, you can stop. Like, I got you under false pretenses. I did not think we would make it this far, but we have. Do you want to save this world and fix a problem that is not yours to fix? And then he agrees. And the thing I always tell people is, he did not have the Triforce of Courage, nor was he destined to get it. He legit, of his own gumption, agreed and did this thing. And I think that's just powerful.
I would love to talk more about Wind Waker with you, but we gotta.
Yeah, what's that 3? I said. No, that was my second one.
Oh,
yeah, Smash.
Yeah, that's right.
Wind Waker. Oh, okay. I'll speed this up a little bit. For the next one, I'm gonna say Mario Galaxy. I think Mario 64 is still top 3 best Mario games ever made, and I will put that at 3 because I will guess nostalgia, but not really. It's just that great. And one of the few Mario games I will allow.
Sorry, Galaxy or 64? Which you roll?
64.
Okay.
Yeah, I will put Mario 64 at number 3 because I will give room for games to improve.
Okay.
But one of the few games I will let people reasonably say is better than 64 is Galaxy. It's a great game. It's wonderful. It's orchestral. It's beautiful. I think one of the in-game rewards, it's not in-game, it's late game, I guess. When you get the ability to actually free fly, that blew my mind. It's going around the hub world and just flying with the red cap. Is that the power up?
It's a red star. No.
Red? Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Fly Mario. It's amazing. It's great. Play Galaxy. And it's actually super, super duper hard, especially with those prankster stars. You know, you think not getting hit one time is easy, and then you fight Poltergeist, and then, you know, cry in a corner because it's damn near impossible, but you do it anyway. Next on my list is I'm a Pokemon stan. I love Pokemon all my heart. And it's going to be Pokemon Black and White, or Black and White 2. Yeah, let's just say the Black and White 5th generation. And that's because people love to say Gold and Silver is their favorite Pokemon game. Understandably so, but I say Black and White. Okay, let's say Black 2 and White 2 is the spiritual successor to Gold and Silver, because everything about that game exists in Black 2 and White 2, but just infinitely better.
Like what?
So one, the art style, to me, it has the best sprite animation in all of Pokemon. I mean, that was the last game with sprites, so I guess that makes sense. But some of the best sprites. It's one of the few games with an actual story, like a in-depth story. You know, if you have the philosophical thing is catching Pokemon and dogfighting right, then you have like an actual terrorist organization in the game that like destroys stuff and like their cities on lockdown. And it's one of the few games where the gym leaders take active roles in their community. Like, they do stuff. It's not like, hey, you fight me in this building, you never see me again. You see them throughout the game. Like, they show up and do stuff. They show up in times of crises, and it makes the world feel extremely real and connected. Like, things that happen in a city aren't limited to that city. They affect the entire region. And he's all, you know, everyone's concerned. And I love that I can't think of another Pokemon game that feels that interwoven and connected. And I was gonna say, it's funny because the region's based off Manhattan, so it looks ridiculous. Like, on a physical map, it looks like this biome wouldn't exist ever. But besides that, it feels the most connected out of the Pokemon games. And like, the Pokemon designs aren't really, and despite there being an actual ice cream Pokemon that originated from that region, I think it still has some of the better designs of a generation. So yeah, go play Black 2, White 2 if you haven't. It's amazing.
Those are one of the only generations I've never played.
Oh my god,
Black and White 2.
Why does everyone say that?
I know.
How did everyone skip Pokemon? Finished. It was like X and Y.
You know what? It was
the diagonal.
It was it was the time of my life when it came out. I think it was like right when I graduated high school, or right when I was in college. Like, I just had too much going on. I was like, new Pokemon? I don't have time for that. I'll play Gears of War 3.
You outgrew Nintendo.
Look how good that franchise is doing.
I thought I was the hotness, and then I would like closet play Mario and not tell anyone.
I knew so many closeted Pokemon players. It's not even funny. Like, between sophomore year of high school and like sophomore year of college, that was like the dead area before Pokemon became like uber popular again. Everyone was like, yeah, Pokemon, I'm all about that. It was such a weird time. But okay, so my number one game is not going to be a surprise to anyone who's listened to me talk or follow me on social media for an extended period of time. But it is the best platformer of the Super Nintendo, one of the best platformers ever made in existence. Take that to the bank, and that's Super Mario World 2: Yoshi's Island.
Nice.
Good pick.
Are you gonna elaborate at all, or is that he's dropping?
He's like, I don't need to. Have you played that game?
Yes. I mean, do you need to? If I go, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player to ever play the game, does that need elaboration?
No,
it's just understood.
No, that doesn't. I don't think this one does a little more.
Okay, fine. So Yoshi's Island, sadly, is a game that Nintendo has never been able to make a proper sequel of.
Whoa, come on. Yoshi's Island DS is fine.
See, you didn't even sell it.
I can't defend it.
It's like, yo, man, the sequel is fine. What do you like? What do you mean? Yeah, it's a very okay game.
Woolly World is good.
Yeah, Woolly World is pretty much Yoshi's Island, just no baby.
Yeah.
Okay, Woolly World and Craft the World. Craft the World, I think, is better than Woolly World.
What?
Oh, really? Oh, I think Craft the World is terrible.
Oh,
and by terrible, I mean like okay.
I mean, it's got like the clown with the turny head backwards that scares the crap out of you. But okay. My problem with Crafted and Woolly World is like the new Kirby game is still challenging, but there's an easy mode and it can be easy. Yoshi, the tuning Yoshi games assumes like, bro, you suck at games. We're gonna make this the most leisurely walk in the park game possible. Still good and creative, but in terms of challenge, we will offer you none except in one bonus level at the end of the game if you played it kinda right.
Why is Yoshi's Island 2 your number one Nintendo game?
Oh, because the platforming amazing and unique. In a world of side-scrolling platformers, I feel like it's really hard to stand out, and Yoshi's Island stands out in every conceivable way. The art style is amazing, the bosses are amazing, the music is amazing, and every attempt at a Yoshi's Island sequel, and don't get me started on the 3D Yoshi games, it just seems like a lesser, it just becomes lesser. Like, it may have a cool thing, like the one with the babies, like the multiple babies and stuff. And it's like, but it never got better. It never built upon itself. Like people look at Mario 3. Mario 3 builds upon the original Mario Brothers. Galaxy Odyssey builds upon the Marios that came before it. The Yoshi games after Yoshi's Island never built upon Yoshi. It was just like, let's try something new and kind of in the same formula, but not.
All right, there it is. Thanks for your top 5. I like it. I like the mic drop after Yoshi's Island.
Yeah, just that dead silence of
Yoshi's Island. All right.
Yes, I stated a fact.
Call it a day. All right, I'll rip through my top 5 Nintendo games. I feel bad because I'm the one who told you guys to make this list, but then I made it actually differently than what I told you guys to make.
Aww.
If I did my true top 5 Nintendo games, I think 3 of them would be Zeldas. So I have just limited it to kind of one per series.
I should have done that and did not.
So this is not my top 5 Nintendo games, but it's more so top 5 Nintendo games to know me. Like, yeah.
Per franchise.
My opinions and loves.
You set you up for failure, Chris.
Yeah,
Number
really.
5 is Kid Icarus Uprising, the most underrated Nintendo of all time. Hands down, it's not even close. This is one of the most ambitious things Nintendo's ever made, and it gets no credit. How many Nintendo games can you think of that have full voice acting? Every line of dialogue is voice acted in Kid Icarus Uprising.
That doesn't mean it's good.
It is good. Why? You don't like the controls? Did it hurt your little hand?
It hurt everyone's hand.
It hurt my big hands.
You always say this game every time we talk on any type of anything. And every time you say it, part of me wants to believe you're playing, but you never are.
I love this game. It's my number 5 Nintendo game. The voice acting is great. It's funny. I love what they did that they don't really have cutscenes. They're just constantly talking while you're fighting, and it's fun and frantic to follow it. It has better on-rails segments than even the most optimistic Star Fox fan would dream of playing something that good in a Star Fox game. It's not even close. It outclasses Star Fox in the first level of the game. The weapon variety is crazy. It has the coolest skill tree ever, where you have to piece together the skills in this little grid, and whatever you can fit in the grid, you get to use. The on-foot sections, I'll give it to you. They're not as good as the in-the-air sections, but they're still fun. The boss battles are outstanding. 25 levels? It's just one of the biggest things they've ever made, and it's stuck on the 3DS. It had an online multiplayer mode with 15 maps. What is this game? I can't believe it exists. You look back on it, it's bigger and better than it has any right to be. And I will defend it forever. Because I had smaller hands when I played it the first time. I now am a fully grown adult with bigger hands. I still play it. I still think it's great. And my hands don't hurt because I have the perfect way to hold the 3DS. Hit me up.
All right, I'm just gonna say my episode 0 hot take real quick. I didn't play Star Fox until an adult, and I thought those games were hot garbage. So I never saw what anyone saw in them. Maybe you have to be there during it when it first came out. So when you said that, I was like, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
I won't. But just for you, on the car ride to Virginia and back, I will bring my 3DS and I will play Kid Icarus Uprising just for you.
You got to do
it.
So
that sounds like a bad time.
Oh, it's going to be terrible. I'm probably going to throw up.
You're like setting yourself up for failure just so you can not change your opinion on the game. I played it in a moving car in the back seat. I hurled twice.
We had to get it detailed. Do you know what that costs?
Yeah, Kid Icarus Uprising is great. On the right side of the 3DS, tuck it between your ring finger and your middle finger and like hold it like a claw. Just right in there, and then grip your stylus with just your thumb and pointer finger, and that's how to hold the 3DS.
Now, is this a full size or a OG?
I play it on the OG. I think on the XL, it's too hard to play. It's too hard to play on the XL.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's my number 5.
You know what? Before I gotta say one thing before we let this Kid Icarus thing go. You had the audacity to question me about Yoshi's Island after everything you just said.
I just wanted to hear it. You got to know in the Toadstool Boardroom, you can't just drop an opinion and walk away. You got to elaborate.
We need evidence.
We do.
Wait, where's the I plead the 5th button?
All right. My number 4 is F-Zero X and F-Zero GX because I could not decide. They're very similar games, and I love them both very dearly. This is kind of a new discovery for me. Started playing F-Zero like in 2019 is when I got really into it, and I'm a big racing fan in real life. I love IndyCar. Indianapolis 500 is coming up, and it's outstanding. So and to have a real racing game from Nintendo, I love Mario Kart to death, but it is a kart racer. To have a real racing game with no items, no power-ups, all skill-based, and it's just outstanding. The world that they've built, the characters are great, the tracks are amazing. It is the most technical, tense, hardcore game Nintendo's made, and it is just a shame that I got into a series that's been dead for almost 2 decades. It is just a travesty that we've started out with 2 series that haven't seen a new game in at least a decade in my top 5. But I adore F-Zero X and GX. X is on Nintendo Switch Online. It's okay. It's an okay version of the game. But yeah, that F-Zero is outstanding. You guys like F-Zero at all?
I've never actually played an F-Zero game.
I love F-Zero. So GX is one that anytime I'm testing Dolphin, that's one of the first titles I use. There's also so I'm sure you know about it, but there's an early Switch title called Fast RMX. If you are an F-Zero fan, I've never played it. You should check that out. The Wipeout series is also very good on PlayStation. And there's I'm going to have to look up the name and then I'll drop it. There's a fan remake for F-Zero that like somebody's been building for the better part of like 3 years. I think it's in early access on Steam now. But you can do like air tricks and it has just like, it's almost like a cell shaded thing, but it's like that combined with like a comic book art style to it. It's very unique looking, but it looks.
Talking about Aero GPX?
I think that might be it.
So I actually interviewed the creator of Aero GPX for IGN. You can look that up if you just type in like F-Zero Aero GPX IGN should come up. And
yes,
it is. It's outstanding. I played a beta of it that he sent over to me, and it feels like F-Zero.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Wipeout series. You mentioned Fast RMX. I don't like those games.
They don't come close, but F-Zero. If you like have that itch, it like may scratch it. It never did for me. But
so I'm extremely excited for Aero GPX because it feels like the third in the trilogy of F-Zero X, F-Zero GX, and now Aero GPX. It's going to be great. And actually was just talking to him on Discord the other day. He says, it's coming along, and maybe we'll see it next year, is what it's looking like. But yeah, that game looks amazing.
Yeah.
Then my number 3, Super Mario Odyssey, which Chris already talked about. I love Odyssey. I think it is hands down the best Mario game that there is. Literally pure joy in a video game from start to finish. The ending, which I know the game came out 5 years ago, I still don't like to talk about on podcast, just in the off chance that someone listening hasn't played it. because I think it's that special and that good. I love how that game ends. And yeah, I like it more than 3D Lands or 3D World, excuse me, is also an honorable mention for me. That was my favorite Mario game until Odyssey came out, but yeah, I think Odyssey is such a special game. But we already talked about that one, so I'll move on to my number 2, which is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I just made this call very recently. Ocarina of Time, my entire life, has been my favorite Zelda game. But I played Twilight Princess again this year, and I was like, this is just like Ocarina of Time, but bigger and darker.
Thank you.
I got criticized for that 15 years ago.
Right?
But
it
now
makes
people
no
like it.
sense.
You know what it is? When it came out, I think this is what it is. When it came out, it was like hot on the heels of a lot of like real edgelord content, like Shadow the Hedgehog, and like just the MyChem era had kind of just wrapped up. Yeah. I think a lot of people.
Princess is phenomenal.
Yeah, look at that game and they're like,
It's
it's
the
just a
best
product of the emo
traditional
age.
Formula Zelda game. It just
What'd you say?
is. It's the best traditional Formula Zelda game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's outstanding. I love the temples. They just feel huge. I played Skyward Sword HD, and I enjoy the dungeons in that, but they feel small. They feel very linear. They feel like Twilight Princess dungeons achieve something I don't think anything else in the series does. That the other one's like, yeah, you feel like this was built to be a dungeon for this video game. The Twilight Princess dungeons feel like they are ancient structures that have existed long before Link entered them and will exist long after he leaves them. And it is just such a cool atmosphere and design that I don't think any Zelda game matches. And dungeons are my favorite part of a Zelda game, so that really lifts it up. I love the story. Midna's the best Zelda companion. The ending is phenomenal. That huge 4-stage boss fight at the end. Yeah, it just... the wolf stuff is okay. The game gets significantly better once you get the ability to swap between human and wolf form at will. The first half, when you get stuck as the wolf form, is really the only thing that drags this one down for me, which is why I never put it above Ocarina of Time. But playing it again this time, I realized that's over pretty quickly, so it can take its rightful spot as number 2 on my Nintendo game list, and also on my top 10 games of all time list, because Zelda has always held the number 2 spot. So Twilight Princess, I love that we all had a different Zelda game in our top 5, and you had 2, right, Chris? You had Breath of the Wild and...
I had Breath of the Wild. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, and Ocarina of Time, you're right.
So we got Ocarina, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild, and Twilight Princess represented. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Do we have any Majora's Mask lovers here?
No. No, we don't.
I like Majora's Mask. I don't love it. But it's a fun game. It's definitely fun, but it's different in a good way. It doesn't make it bad, but when I look at the moments that affected me the most in the series, Majora's Mask barely gets a blip from me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Temples suck.
Yeah, it's a game that if I try to play it as an adult, not remembering where anything is, and I'm like, I've only got 2 hours to play this game tonight. Like, I can't spend it getting lost and having to reset. And I get so mad when I try to play that game now. I like that. It had a moment in my life, and it came and went, and that's fine.
And my number 1 is... Anyone know? Anyone have a guess?
Mario Sluggers.
Chris again.
It's not Mario. I did just tweet about Mario Sluggers, though.
I know.
Because there's a new render of Mario holding a bat at the Mariners games.
And you're just like...
Please bring it back. Please bring back Sluggers. No, my number 1 Nintendo game of all time and my number 1 game of all time is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Absolutely. Huge Smash guy. I love Ultimate. I was at the E3 where it was playable and unveiled. I went to the first ever tournament. It was like 10 feet away from Sakurai when he came out on stage after the event. I love how the game plays. I love all the newcomers. My top 2 most wanted DLC characters were Hero from Dragon Quest and Banjo-Kazooie, and they got unveiled in the same Nintendo Direct. It was one of the greatest days of my life. And yeah, Smash is just... I mean, Odell summed it up really well. It's just a special thing for Nintendo fans. Always has been for me. I played... Melee was one of the first games I remember playing growing up. So, yeah, this game is just fantastic. And I'm very sad it's over. I just wanted DLC to go and go. But all good things have to come to an end, just like this podcast. Just like episode 0 of the Toadstool Boardroom. That's going to do it for us. Our first normal episode, where we'll be diving into all the Nintendo news of the week, is coming out on Thursday, June 2nd, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever streaming service you use. We hope that you enjoyed getting to know us here on episode 0. We're very excited about this new Nintendo show. You can find Odell at
Harmon Jr. on all your favorite social media.
You can find Chris at
Shrives93, SHRIVES is in Samuel 93.
And you can follow me at Logan J. Plant. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Toadstool BR. Please do. So you can get all of our announcements, news, and whatever fun other stuff we do on social media. We don't really know yet. This is a very new thing, but we're excited about it. Thanks for joining us for episode 0. We'll see you back here for episode 1, back right here in the Toadstool Boardroom.